What up, guys? Welcome to Harry Dating Convos, the show where we talk about love, relationships, and how to better understand women. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. And on today's show, we're going to be actually talking about a lot of stuff because I had so many great messages from you guys this week between comments and people that emailed me that I just want to be able to focus on answering those questions. And we're also going to go over a question that I answered on Reddit from a guy that was wondering if he, in fact, needs to be texting a woman every day as he's going out of town for 2 weeks after having seen her a couple of times. So for those of you that watch us so regularly, you probably know the answer to that already, but I want to break down my answer to him. And also, I want to go over some of the answers left in the comments that were encouraging this guy to text her every day and how I feel about that. So we're going to get into that. As always, the show is brought to you by my website, HarryWilmington.com. You can go there now to check out my various ebooks, audiobooks, and various programs, including this wonderful program right here. As always, this show is brought to you by Get Girls Academy, my exclusive program designed to help you attract, date, and keep the women you want. As a member, you'll gain access to proven strategies, insider tips, and bi-monthly group coaching sessions where we tackle your biggest questions live. Click the link in the description to learn more and join today. So yeah, you can check that out at HarryWilmington.com. Also, guys, so the program, the Get Girls Academy program there, right now I have it where you just opt in and it's a monthly, and I don't do things like limited time, low price trials or free trials, but I'm considering adding that for a limited time just to see if people want to be able to test out the information in the program before committing to paying a monthly. So that may be coming up soon, but if you sign up for my mailing list, then you will get notified of when that happens. Just go to the website. You can get a free copy of Texting Women Like a Boss. And when you do that, you join the e-list, the email program. So it's pretty simple to do. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and just start getting into these questions because, like I said, these questions are pretty great. And I want to make sure you guys get the full knowledge that I have to spit to you guys today. So let's start off with this first question. So I received a question from a loyal viewer, and this guy said, where do you stand when one of the girls you're dating has a few new friends that seem to maybe influencing or rubbing off on them in a slight way? For example, the friends can be somewhat promiscuous, at least seen in photos, and wonder if that can start to get in the way. This particular girl, she still shows up for dates. She reaches out, but it seems like a lot of the extra free time is devoted to that little friend group. I just play it cool and don't check up or do anything like that, hence why she's probably still around as well, LOL. But what do you think? Is that worry coming from an insecurity or anxiousness? What is your take on that? Well, to start off, I'll say this, is that ultimately you're not wrong for noticing these various changes. Obviously, as a guy, you're going to be able to pick up on patterns and when things start to shift a little bit, and that is not a bad thing. And the reality is, you know, if this is a new group of friends, that her hanging out with this new group could, in fact, have an impact on her, but it doesn't automatically mean that's going to happen. And for right now, it doesn't mean that anything's wrong. Like, basically understand that, like, even though friend groups can like influence a woman's behavior, that doesn't always happen, you know. I used to be, back in the day, I was hanging out with people when we were throwing parties at my apartment with my best friend at the time. Like, we would have people come through that would do certain types of substances and do a lot of drinking and other various things that I didn't feel like I had to partake in. Like, I was just never that guy. And so I was able to be myself regardless of what environment I was in, and rarely was I able to get influenced to do things that I didn't want to do or already have a feeling that I wanted to try out, you know? And so you got to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, basically, I always look for consistency. So has her new set of friends resulted in her being inconsistent with you? So for example, when you set dates, is she still showing up, or is she like, no, I can't do that date because I'm going to hang with my friends instead, or, oh, my friends told me that's not a great place, so I don't want to go. Like, you have to look at, with this new friendship group, if she's still continuing to treat you the same way and show up in the same way and be consistent in how she's reacting to you and talking about things, then you are good, you know? And I get it. You are thinking long-term, like, but what if these friends in a long-term way do X, Y, and Z? And so to that, I say, you got to keep analyzing. Ideally, nothing's going to come up that's too bad, that's going to suddenly shift her entire personality, or hopefully it won't be a situation where, they start doing things that initially she didn't do, and all of a sudden now she's into those things where they were able to like legitimately shift the way that she acts or any kind of moral stances she had, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to look out for that, because at the end of the day, just because you don't like the people that she's hanging out with, it doesn't mean that, one, that she doesn't need those people in her life for whatever reason. And number two, it doesn't mean that those people are so bad that they're going to influence her to be negative. Ultimately, you can't really police people that your significant other is hanging with. So on some level, I will say this, there can be indicators of there being an insecurity on your part about that. And maybe it could be that you're not sure how this is going to affect your relationship, or you're thinking, if she's spending time with them, maybe over time she's going to want to spend more time with them and less with me, or she's not going to have the same likes that I have anymore. And so, but right now there's no evidence to that, And so what I don't want you to do as a guy is jump forward and like hop in your DeLorean and go to the future and be like, but she's going to turn out like this if she hangs with these people. We don't know that, All we know right now is that she's still being consistent. She's still engaging with you. She's clearly still interested, right? And here's the thing. Women are the type of people that need to feel as though they can roam away and come back and not be controlled by a guy. So you can't be making her feel bad for hanging out with these group of friends, or being like, well, why do you hang out with them? And I wish you do. They do these kind of things and you shouldn't. Once you start shooting a woman, she's going to start thinking this feels controlling. And I've also just found that anytime you as a guy try to overtly control like that, it typically makes it, you typically end up pushing them into doing the thing you don't want them to do. So if you say nothing right now about how you feel about her hanging out with them, then in her world, everything's fine. She can see them and then come and do you and hang out with you and whatever. But the minute you're like, hey, I feel some kind of way when you hang out with these people, now to her, it's like being a parent. Like, he doesn't want me to hang out with them. Well, I'm going to hang out with them more. And you don't need that. Like, real talk, So I would say for now, the best move you can make is to observe what's going on, but not overreact to it. Don't try to control her. Don't say you can't hang with those people. Don't say I have a feeling about X, Y, and Z. Here's the thing. If a woman starts having issues with that group, they will let you know. They'll come and say, hey, so, the group of friends wanted to do this thing, and I didn't really feel kind of good about it. I want to know what your take on it was. Like, women that care about you and care about your opinion, when things start to actually come up that could be like a bit, kind of on shaky ground, they'll come to you and ask for your opinion on that. Until that happens, it's hard as a guy because you're thinking, I'm already seeing things. Sometimes women got to go through an experience thing to realize that, oh, this is not a good situation. And you got to let her come to that if it comes to that. But right now, there's nothing. So for now, you're not crazy for noticing things. That's great. You're being very, very smart by staying grounded and not interjecting yourself too much. And the best you can do is just watch and observe, and assuming that she keeps treating you the same way that she was treating you before, then you're good. And you don't have to like everybody she hangs out with, but you also can't control that. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. And by the way, guys, this show is ultimately about you. So if you have any questions you want me to answer during the course of this live, I will get to those questions. Leave them in the chat and I will happily answer your questions. You can also write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com if you have a more in-depth question. All right, let's get on to the next question that I received this week. So this was an interesting question because it's something that as you're starting to learn the ins and outs of how to get women to feel attracted to you, like when you first go out to a party or you meet them from online dating or whatever, then you're going to experience this phenomenon that this guy's going through. And it is not abnormal to feel this or to experience this. All right. And I'll explain why that is. So anyway, this guy wrote me an interesting letter and he said, after generating attraction and interest and going out with a girl, we'll sometimes spend 10 or more hours together. Pause. For one, I would say that on a first, second, or third date, you should not be spending that much time with a woman. Even if you guys end up hooking up, you could do like a 2-hour date and then a 3-hour hookup where you hook up, watch TV, and hook up again. But you should not be dragging out dates to more than like 5 hours max. For those first few dates, it should be like really no more than 90 minutes to 2 hours. But like as you're taking her out more and seeing her more, you should save the 10 plus hours things for like maybe after like date 5 or 6. Early on, that's not what should be going on because it could cause you to get burned out and it can cause her to get burned out. But anyway, he says, So they'll spend 10 plus hours together, but I start to feel like I go silent and change my personality. I feel like I'm good at the initial high energy engagement. I can be charismatic, get numbers, etc. But then I seem to become dry and boring as heck. That's he said boring is, at least in my opinion. I'm wondering what's going on with me psychologically, or maybe I'm just really a boring person who's only good at acting fun for a short while. Well, I will say again, thank you for writing me. This is not an abnormal phenomenon. This is a thing that happens to a lot of guys. And here's how it breaks down, right? So maybe up to this point, you weren't great at parties. You weren't great at initially meeting women. And so you come to my channel, maybe somebody else's channel, and you learn the ins and outs of how to spark attraction, how to converse in the right way, how to do things that give women the vibe of you're being that cool guy, how to dress yourself well. And so you start building confidence and you go out there and you start being that fun guy. You're not so nervous and apprehensive anymore. And it actually works. Like you actually that dude, you can go to parties, events, meet new people, and you're that guy that's able to shine. And women are like, oh my God, he's so amazing, right? But here's the problem is that it's almost like we go from zero in terms of not knowing how to do that to thinking, oh, I know how to be at a 10 level, and that 10 level is what's going to get me women. But you can't sustain a 10 level of energy for a long period of time, especially if you're like me, an introvert who more often than not, like, I know how to be funny. I can be cool. I can be vibrant. I can tell jokes. I can make people laugh. I know how to get in that conversation. But most of my time, I'm a pretty even chill guy. I spend a lot of my time in my head being cerebral about things and thinking about the world. I like having intellectual conversations. And that's not the version of me that if I'm doing that version of me at a 10 all the time, that version of me is not going to get women. Like me being like, hey, what's up? So let's talk about something deep, blah, 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 like vibing out. Like it's cool. And that's a vibe that in the long term, a woman can get with. But in terms of the introductory, you kind of want to be able to turn it on a little bit, But the problem is, again, we go from not knowing how to do it at all to trying to go to a 10 level. And we might be able to sustain that for the first, maybe second date. But by date 3, it's kind of like you stop wanting to put on the facade of always being that fun, vibrant guy. And you don't have to be that guy to not be seen as boring, And so here's what's going on is that you're using high energy to get the woman, and then you're not able to keep that up for a long period of time. And so you start feeling like you're a fraud. And also, she's also getting the experience of, wait a minute, what happened to the guy that I met? He's not being the same guy now. He's not showing the same energy. He's kind of doing his thing. And that's not even adding on the fact that you're spending 10 hours with these chicks. It is very hard to, in the beginning stages, have a lot to talk about beyond like 3 or 4 hours. Like we're just being real, right? Yes, you can ask all the questions in the world, but there comes a time where you're going to be like, okay, this is kind of lulling a bit. I want to head out. And so you guys that are trying to do like these 10 or 12 hour marathon dates, this is why around like the 6 hour mark, you guys are just kind of walking next to each other and nothing's being said a lot, or you guys are in the car and in the beginning you were having a vibrant conversation, and now as the date goes on, in an hour 6 or 7, you're driving someplace and you're like, I have nothing to say. Should I be saying something? How is she feeling? This feels awkward. Do not set yourself up for awkwardness. Make your earlier dates with women shorter, and she will feel as though she's getting to know you and that you're a vibrant conversationalist, And so, hold on a second here. And so because of that, what's happening is that you are having a disconnected dating identity. You're trying to be both a guy that's fun and charismatic all the time, but you also know that that's not your everyday, and you can't keep that up. And so that can cause you to start to feel a bit awkward. It can cause you to run out of what you think you should be saying because all the fun stuff you said was at the beginning, and now it's like hour 4, and you're like, I have nothing fun else to say, and I don't know what's going on. And so that starts to make you feel like you're being awkward or boring. And so the other thing that you internally fear is that there's a thought that you can start to build as you're learning this stuff, that the only way that women are going to love you is if you're entertaining all the time. Don't talk about serious subjects. I know I've said that before. Hey, on first dates and second dates, don't be overly serious. Try to be fun, vibrant, keep things light. And I stress that's fine for the earlier part of when you're dating a girl. Around week like 6 or 7, assuming you get to that point, it's fine to not always be the fun and vibrant guy. Now, I'm not saying be a depressing guy either, but I'm saying you don't have to, every single thing you talk about doesn't have to be entertaining or full of joy. You can talk about serious stuff, things going on in politics or things going on in her life, or she had something happen at work and she wants to talk about it in a serious way. You're fine to have those conversations at that point. It's just early on, you don't need to feel like you got to do that, right? And so here's ultimately what you should be doing is that I don't believe in going to a full 10 in terms of being a high entertaining guy when you first meet a woman, you know? At best, take it to no more than a 7 because you want to give off the vibe that you know how to have fun, you can engage in conversation, you can be joyful, but also there's a side to you that can also kind of chill and relax and be about other things, you know? Now, to be fair, in those early on meetups, you're not going to be able to show all those versions of your personality, you know? Like on a first meetup, you might meet her at a party, for example. That's not really the atmosphere to be trying to have these overly deep conversations. But you can have a conversation where you throw in a few jokey things here or there, but you're also talking about, you know, how you know the person at the party or what her favorite food's been so far, or does she want to dance to a song or whatever, you know? Like it doesn't have to stay on jokey stuff. Also, don't think you got to rage like this all the time. Oh my God. Like you ain't got to do that to get women. Again, you can be a fun guy, but also demonstrate that you know how to be fun and also be chilled and relaxed at the same time. And so also understand that you don't have to try to hold her attention all the time. Like the ultimate job is to focus on connecting with her and not performing for her. You know, your presence alone is going to outshine whatever performance you have, you know? And that's why, like they say, like, you know, women back in the day talked about falling for the strong silent type. Like you don't have to say a whole lot to still have a woman want to be engaged with you. You know, she can be talking about something. You can just kind of like lean back, give her a nice little smirk, maybe look at her up and down a little bit. Like, you know, she's sexy and she knows it. And like that, giving off that vibe, that's not you being hyper or anything. That's you being relaxed, but recognizing what's going on, you know? And so as you do that, you'll find that you're able to integrate what feels like a more realistic version of you into when you're picking up women. Because ultimately, yes, we want you to be yourself, but we want you to be the version of yourself that's going to attract her and that's going to get her engaged. And you don't have to be at a full 10 to do that. And the reality is, if you are at a full 10 when you do that, then like I said, later down the line, as she gets to know you more, she's going to start thinking, this isn't the guy that I met. So you have to kind of like tamper down a bit on how high energy you are and recognize that's still going to be okay. Like I've told you guys famously on the show, I was able to go to parties and like meet women and be the guy in the room that got the woman that everybody else wanted. You know, I remember one time we had a party back in the day. We was at my apartment and I took a nap. Like I knew people were coming over for this party and I went to my room and took a nap for like 3 hours. And I came out of my room at like 12 midnight. And at that point, a lot of people were there, both guys and women. And there was like a particular woman that was there that all the guys been hitting on. And I was out there halfway groggy, talking to people and saying, what's up? I met this girl. I was like, oh, hey, what's up? And then I knew at that point the sequence I needed to go through to be able to get that girl. But suffice to say, I walked away from her and I said hi to some other people. I wasn't being hyper. I was tired as heck, but I was like, we're having a party here. I'm going to come have fun for a little bit. And so short story long, of all the guys that were there, I was able to end up, I'll say, doing the most with her. And that wasn't me. That wasn't a result of me being overly hyper about nothing. Just me being a cool guy that knew how to have a good time. I was a little bit patient. I was flirty with her. I was able to talk to her and stuff like that. And none of that involved me jumping out of my skin to impress her. So don't think that that's the only energy that women are going to respect and like out you, because I don't want you making that mistake and then wondering why it is that you feel so kind of weird about yourself. And the reality is nobody can keep that up. Even dudes that are always at a 10 in real life, like usually behind the scenes, they're chill dudes. I know, like, for example, Eddie Murphy's a very popular actor. He's always funny on set, this is that. But if you like see interviews with him, he's usually just kind of like, oh, hey guys, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, you know, what's up? Like, he's not that overly hyper dude in his day-to-day life. That's actually true for most comedians, because I used to run in circles where I would film comedians and stuff. And most of them behind the scenes are just kind of like even-toned dudes, but get them to a party and they know how to turn up, you know? But they also know how to pull women aside and kind of give them that one-on-one interaction where they're not so hyper in that moment with her. So just some things to consider. Hopefully that'll help you out. And like I said, guys, if you have any questions you want me to answer on the show, leave it in the chat and I will happily get to it. All right. So let's see what else we got in terms of messages that I got this weekend, guys. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so I had this guy write me a comment in one of my comment sections, and the comment says, well, I messed up another perfectly fine looking date by not passing her pull away test. We had a very open relationship, so I felt comfortable in asking her if she was upset at something when she acted cold last Sunday. She was with a guy friend and took it as jealousy, probably from past trauma, I guess. The following week, she did the same thing. I felt like she was playing a game, hot and cold. I told her I'm out. I feel like I overreacted. She had many qualities that I liked. Well, for starters, I'll say this, because based on how he worded it, when he says he had an open relationship, I couldn't initially tell if he meant that like they were able to see other people or if it meant that they were open in the sense that they were very open and honest with their feelings and stuff about that, right? And so from my understanding of this situation, they weren't like dating long term. Like it sounds like they were maybe just in the dating phase. Like he says open relationship, but it sounds more like they were in the dating phase. So he didn't specify on that. I'm not sure on that. But either way, like I don't know what kind of openness they were agreeing to. I just know that typically when guys are overly open with their thoughts and feelings to women about stuff, sometimes they can take it, sometimes they can't. And so I don't know what all he asked her was she upset at something, but he doesn't say what that something was. All I know is that he says that there was a guy friend thing involved. So maybe she was thinking that he was jealous of the guy friends that she was with, which can happen. You know, as guys, we know that if a woman has a guy friend around and she's saying and swearing up and down it's platonic, it's no big deal, that we can get into the understanding of like, but as a guy, even if he's not telling you that he likes you, he's sticking around in part because he's hoping that there's a chance because he does in fact like you. Like we as guys can typically read that off of other guys. And weirdly enough, a lot of women can't. Like either they're in denial about it or they're just of the mind frame that if a guy is in the friend box, he knows he's in the friend box and therefore he's not going to try to do anything. And that, we know, is not oftentimes the case, right? But either way, I would say that for one, it's never good to be jealous of of guy friends. Like the probability of most guys that have female friends getting with said females is very statistically low to where I would not be threatened by that. But as I said with one of the previous messages, at the point that you start saying, hey, I feel some kind of way about you hanging out with this other guy. What are you guys doing? He really has the hots for you. You need to leave him alone or I'm going to have hurt feelings. You can try that tactic. I have found that it has yet to actually work. And most women just feel like you're being crazy. And then also you saying that to her could make her start to think, but does this guy over here, that's my friend, actually like me? Huh, interesting. If he did like me, would I want to explore that? I work as a way to test to see if he likes me in the first place. So you, in effect, are setting up your own domino effect of this woman that was potentially not even thinking about getting with the best friend, now thinking about possibly getting with the best friend. So these are scenarios where, again, women only, just like men, we only have options of two friends, either men or women, you know? And so, yes, most women that you meet, especially if they're hot and attractive, probably have male orbiters that she's not currently entertaining for purposes of a relationship. And so I don't feel the need to try to call women out on that because that is a thing where inherently nothing's going on, so I have nothing to worry about. Now, it'd be different if, like, say, I went to a party with my girl and this guy was there and then she was like actively flirting, actively touching his biceps, actively trying to get him a drink, actively trying to dance with him and grind him. Then there's actual physical evidence that's going on that indicates, oh, my girl's tripping if she doesn't see that this guy wants her, right? That's when it'd be like, hey, you and so-and-so are doing this and this and that, like, I don't like that. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just know that I'm not comfortable with that. And if that's how you want to continue with that guy, I'm going to be out. Like, you have every right as a guy to be like, your behavior is unacceptable. I am out, right? But if that's not going on and you're just like feeling butthurt because she has another male friend that she wants to sometimes spend time with, then I would say, yeah, that's a little bit of insecurity. That's something you need to figure out why that's happening, whether it's from past traumas or previous situations where girls you dated also had guy friends that she did in fact cheat on with. Like, that could be your own hang up based on your own history. And again, if that's happened to you before, I could see why you'd be hesitant to want to deal with the situation. And I'm not saying you got to stay in it. But the fact that you feel that you overreacted, that indicates that maybe you didn't thoroughly analyze the situation in a way where you could actually see clearly what was going on versus what you felt or think might be going on. Because as far as I know, this guy gave no indicators that this guy friend of hers, that she was actually flirting with him or doing anything, which means it could be all up in his head. And I'm not saying maybe it wasn't. Maybe she was doing a little too much. But I find that both men and women, when they are with somebody and they have friends of the opposite sex, it's very easy to start thinking the worst scenario and not trusting your partner or significant other in terms of how they're going to respond or act around the other person. And we can cause what would have been a great relationship to go away because we're just like, I don't want to do this, I'm out. And you're not thoroughly thinking it through, you know? So just some things to consider. Like at this point, if she's already gone, then you try to ask for her back. It's not the best strategy, but if you want to go that way and she's open to it, you could try to get that and say like, hey, you know, I was just feeling a kind of way about the guys you're hanging out with, but, you know, I should have trusted you more. And then, you know, see if it works out. But it's kind of like on the down end at this point. So I would say like, you kind of overreacted because we didn't know the full situation yet. At the same time, I get it. You're trying to analyze the situation. You're trying to see like where she's at with things. You're trying to set certain boundaries to make sure that there's not anything inappropriate going on. It's just that based on what you wrote, I don't get any indicators that anything inappropriate was going on. And so you got to kind of figure out where that came from. And hey, maybe there's more to the story you can let us know about that I can, you know, better analyze this. But for now, I would say like, if you can get back with her and you want to, see what that conversation looks like. If she comes to you and says, hey, what was going on? Why'd you, whatever. But, and also see in the time that you've not been with her, if she did in fact try to get with her best friend, and then at which point you're completely validated in what you were thinking, you know? So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see, another comment that I got this week. So, okay. So I really liked this question. So many people are trying to text me right now. Just from I'm going out of town this week to visit my mom. So I'm getting questions about like what kind of food I want when I go home. By the way, just as a sidebar, you know, I have a great mom. I grew up under a great woman. And so a lot of things that, you know, that we look for as guys for women usually start with like the first person that was around us, which is our moms and stuff. Right. And so, you know, the fact that I just got to text my mom saying, hey, you're coming home. What kind of food do you want? When I'm dating women, I look for women that are doing that kind of stuff. Like, hey, I'm going to the store. Like, what do you need? What do you want? Because there are so many women these days that are conflicted about their femininity. And if acting too feminine is going to make them look weak. So simple things like if I offer to make my guy a plate, does that mean I'm being subservient? If I say, hey, what do you want me to get you from the store? Is it like I'm doing his bidding by getting his food? And guys, let me tell you, women that really care about you, they will do all the feminine things. But there are some women that really, really want a guy. And they're stuck in their head with this feminist bull crap about how, well, you shouldn't serve a man and you need to, you know, make sure he's doing his half and it's 50-50 and, you know, you don't need to. And those women are losing. And it's also giving men less hope that there are women out there that won't feel weird for wanting to cook for their guy or wanting to do stuff for their guy. If you meet those women, do not date those women. I can tell you right now, you dating women that have bought into the feminist lies about what it means to be a woman and how they're pick-me's if they want to do for their man, those women are going to have this internal battle with themselves about doing things for you while they're dating you. And it's going to be a hassle for you. And I already believe that life in and of itself is already hard. Your relationship should not make it harder. So just like you would go to the store and say, hey, babe, I'm going to the store. What do you want? A woman should be able to do that for you. And if she feels as though that's beneath her to do, please don't stick with those women because you don't deserve to torture yourself like that. Just saying. Anyway, continuing on. So we have a question that I got this week, and he said, what is your stance on just offering a date when a woman significantly delays a response? So this is in response to a guy's question I answered last week. He had been talking to a girl, had gone out a couple of times, and then she had kind of stopped responding to him, and he didn't know if he should what he should do next. And I said, just ask her on a date. Like most girls, I keep trying to just stress to you guys that most women do not want to be part of a text stream with you. Like I get it, in today's modern age, texting is all the rage, but I have too many women that I've known in my lifetime on my side of things that I've been able to see tell me, hey, when guys I met are just texting me nonstop, it's annoying. I have things to do. I have a job. I don't want to be in front of my phone all the time trying to answer this guy's messages. So you guys aren't winning over women by texting all the time. So I told this guy, instead of just trying to have a random conversation, just text her and ask her for a date and see what she says. And at worst case scenario, she won't answer back or she'll say she's not free. And then you leave her alone. And so he did that. He said, I followed your advice in the most recent live and figured I wouldn't eliminate her due to a delayed response. I responded to the girl because I think she responded like a week or so later. Oh, this is the girl he met online where, that was okay. He had met the girl online and it started a conversation. And then like she just went away for a week. And I had stressed that women, when they do online dating, sometimes they get so burdened with like 50 or 60 or 70 messages just off being there on day one that it can overwhelm them. And they sometimes may go away and then come back and only answer the questions that were sent by guys that she really seems to really like, right? And so he was feeling some kind of way about that. And I was just like, dude, women, their experience of dating online is different than ours. So give her the benefit of the doubt. And now that she's responding back to you and she responded back by sending you 2 texts, that's good indicator that she wants to meet up with you, have a dialogue. So let's forego trying to have a long drawn out conversation and just ask her for the friggin' date. And I go over this, by the way, extensively in my Get Girls Academy because I have a program in there called Smart Digital Dating that teaches you the ways in which you need to ask women out from dating apps, one of which is how long do you need to message a girl before you ask her out? Spoiler, not a long time, but when you ask her out, there's a sequence you need to do to make sure that you're able to get the date. So this guy, he responded to the girl, but just offered the date, so he didn't try to do a frivolous conversation, to which she accepted. So he was feeling some kind of way about not having a long, drawn-out conversation, and I just said, she probably doesn't want that. She's on a dating app to date. She wants to be asked on a date. She responded to you. She wants a date. And what happened? The next time he reaches out to her, he asks for a date, and she says, yeah, let's do it. That's all that's supposed to happen. So he says, my reasoning is to just find out if she's willing to get to know me or not. Well, she said yes to the date, which means at the very least, she's open to the inquiry that is trying to find out more about you. Always a great thing. He says, I guess she may want to get to know me. Yes. I didn't see a reason to entertain and or continue a convo if I'm just going to get ghosted again. Exactly. He says, with that said, did you think I made a smart move by just offering a date? Or did I just put myself in a position to get played by way of free drinks and a dinner? So first off, I want to say that I'm glad you followed the advice because like I said, girls date differently on dating apps. Also, life happens. Things happen where like they need to just get away and not be responding on their phone all the time. And so that's great. Also, you offering the date finally, very, very strong move. You cut through all the fluff and went straight to, hey, let's go on a date. And her response was, yes, take the victory. Like, don't be questioning, well, what's this about and why she did it? No. You asked her for a date. She said yes. I can assure you, women get a ton of messages from guys, most of whom admittedly don't ask her out because they're afraid to do it. And the few that do, she's not saying yes to all those offers. So she said yes. That is a net win for you. Take the victory. Now, in terms of did you get played? So I get what this guy's thinking, right? He's thinking, I didn't hear from this woman for a week. And then she responded back to me after a week. And then when I asked her for a date, she said yes. What does this mean? Could this potentially be a foodie call where she just needs a free meal and is like, oh, I'll get one of these suckers to this and that? Look, here's the reality, guys. I'm going to be completely honest with you, right? Yes, there are women out there that we've seen on videos where they'll say, oh, I don't have to buy groceries this entire year because I just accept dates from guys and they take me out and I get food. Yay. So that I'm not going to lie and say that cannot happen. What I am going to say, and this is from, again, my experience of doing online dating, my experience interviewing women, right, is that it takes a lot for a woman to think about going on a date and then looking at the prospect of having to potentially get new clothes, and which means she has to spend money, and then having to get her hair done and her makeup done and showering when the options are go on date with person I don't know or stay home and watch Netflix and pet my dog. That is what you're fighting. You're fighting against a woman that is more likely to want comfort. So when she says yes to a date, what she's saying is, I feel enough comfort with this guy to give him a shot. He is worth getting off my couch and going outside into the real world and putting gas in my car gas tank and driving halfway across town in traffic to meet up with this person. Now, could she be doing that for a free meal? She 100% could, but also that's a lot of effort to do that when, let's be real, guys, most women know enough simps and orbiters that they can contact to be able to get them free food. Just saying. So I don't need you to look at this as she could potentially be using me. That is always going to be a possibility. But if you just went with that thought, you would never go on a date, because I would say in my dating life, of all the girls that I've ever gone out with, I can count on my fingers like maybe 2 women that I could tell, oh, they're in this for the free meal. But the majority of them weren't there for that. But also, I don't put out there dates that are highly expensive for women that I don't know. Like, he met this girl online, so he's planning a date. I wouldn't expect him to plan a date to like a steak restaurant or Mr. Chow's or some place where he's going to spend like hundreds of dollars. The places that I typically go to are like Chinese food places, pizza places where we can either split a pizza or get our own individual ones, where I know in advance what the price is, so I know what I'm paying, and it's not usually more than 30 or 40 bucks. Like, the prospect of the date doesn't have to be overly expensive, because the date should be about getting to know you. If you're really pressed, I've done $5 comedy night dates. I've done picnic dates in the park that cost me nothing more than a couple of groceries and a few sandwiches, Like, the end result of the date is just to get to know each other. And so if you're dating a woman that's more focused on the date and the food she's getting than getting to know you, then she's not worth your time. But that starts with you control where the date's happening, all right? And here's the thing. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that your offer matches her effort. Right now, the effort on both of y'all's parts is very, very low. You met on the dating app, you talked for a little bit, but she was gone for a week and came back, and then she said yes to a date. You don't know her enough to know if she's worth taking on a more expensive date. So what you want to make sure of is that ultimately you're keeping it relatively low key. You're not trying to do concerts. You're not trying to do steak dinners. Nothing overly expensive, not doing amusement parks and anything like that. You're keeping it very low key and chill. If she says, and that's why you control the date. Like, don't ask her where she wants to go. You look up on Yelp. It's very easy today to go on Yelp and look at places in your town and all of their menus. Most Yelp sites, if you go in there, either they'll have pictures of their menus or they'll have a direct link to their website where you can go and check out their menus. You can look at the menu and see how much things cost. Admittedly, with tariffs and inflation, things cost a bit more. I saw a menu the other day where like the Brussels sprouts on there were like $14. Like, get the freak out of here. But again, just the other night, I went to California Pizza Kitchen. Their prices are still relatively sane, $20 for a pizza. Oh my God. So if you get yourself a pizza and she gets a pizza, it's $40. You're not breaking the bank, but you're doing this to see, if she's one of the people that's go with the flow and doesn't need a lot of money to try to spend time with you. And also, that way, you're not, in her head, bribing her for more than just a conversation. Like, I think men forget that a lot of times when women go on dates with guys and it ends up being hella expensive, the woman's thinking, okay, this costs a lot. He probably wants sex from me. And that's why you actually air better if you're going for cheaper dates, because women don't know, okay, this is about getting to know me, not about he spent money, so now he wants sex, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, like, you want to do those cheap dates early on. Make sure that she's bringing energy that is good. Make sure that she's treating you well, that she's involved in the conversation, asking questions about yourself. That's what this is about, right? So don't be worried about, am I being used or not? On some level, we're all getting used in the dating game because she's using you for a meal. You're using her to hopefully get a hookup of some kind. It is what it is. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing all the time. And also, like I said, most women aren't saying yes to dates, knowing full well that going outside to the unknown versus staying inside and being hella comfortable, most women would rather be comfortable. So don't assume, and that's the thing too, get out of your head this idea that when women say yes to you, it's always about using you. That's really more of a thing you need to analyze in terms of like, why are you thinking that way? And again, it could be because of past history. Maybe you have had women that have used you before and it just happened so many times that you're always on edge. But I have found that just because you go on a date with a woman and then she doesn't want to see you again, that doesn't mean she was trying to use you. It could mean you didn't know what things to talk about on a date that made her want to stick around. It can mean that she just didn't feel chemistry for whatever reason. It's not always about her trying to use you for a meal. Just like I try to tell women, women will say, yeah, I hooked up with the guy and then he didn't respond back anymore and he just used me for sex. And I'm like, or you guys had sex and then you became clingy. You started mentioning exes that were abusive to you and how you were also abusive. After sex, you wanted to like get in his phone and stuff. And he realized, oh, this girl's a lot. I'm out. And then to her, it feels like she got used for sex. And really, her personality was one that was going to push the guy away, So don't always jump to the conclusion that you're being used. It can happen, but more often than not, that's not what's going on. But anyway, hopefully for now, that answers your question. And like I said, guys, if you have any questions you want me to answer during the course of this show, then you can leave it in the chat box and I will be happy to answer your question. Also, guys, I have a blog now. Like I've been doing less videos on the channel. Like I've been doing like maybe one live a week and some other videos because I've been really getting into the blogging space. I've been making a lot more money at the blog, but also I just find it's really enjoyable to have like a daily blog where I'm able to talk about dating. A lot of the blogs are transcriptions that I've done from videos on here and then turn them into blogs. But I've also created like all new topics that I'm talking about. And it's like, I'm starting to build a community over there. So if you go to medium.com and type in Harry Wilmington, you will see the blog. I'll also leave it as a link in the description for the YouTube video after this is all done. But yeah, you can go to medium.com and type in Harry Wilmington. You will see I have 87 articles there right now, and they're getting traction, a lot of discussions, a lot of women coming on there and having their thoughts and opinions about what I'm saying. But I'm sure most of you guys will agree with the stuff. But either way, go check that out at medium.com. I should get a link to be able to I should get an affiliate link for them so I can start getting paid for that recommendation. Anyway, let's get on to the meat of today. So I wanted to talk about this because I saw this on Reddit, and obviously it's about texting, and this guy is going through a situation that a lot of new guys go through. And so I want to go over what his comment was, but I also want to go over some of the comments left by other people because, people tend to think that if something sounds good and logical, that's what should be happening. And so for the texting narrative is if somebody asks, should I be texting a girl all the time? It sounds like the logical thing to do in order to build up a woman's attraction. And so by default, if it's sounding logical, people will say, yes, that's what you should do, in spite of actual experience for most guys, which is when they text all the time, eventually the woman loses interest. So to that end, let me go through this guy's question. So his post said, should I text her every day? And he said, I've just started seeing a girl roughly a week ago. We've been on a couple amazing dates already. I've had to go back to my home country for a couple of weeks since Saturday. So that would be this past Saturday. It's now Wednesday as I'm recording this. And we've been texting ever since. So he's been texting her Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He's been texting her 5 days in a row. Now, I don't know from this if he's initiated those texts or if she's been initiating with him. But anyway, he says, she told me last night that she misses me and cannot wait until I am back. And I said, I miss her too. Okay. Then he says, the conversation ended now, and I'm wondering if I should start a new one today or let it rest for a day. My friend said I should be texting every day because that will build attraction, but I don't want it to be mechanical either. Excuse me for a second. What? Is he freaking kidding me? Sorry. Anyway, I don't want to ask other subs. Okay, he says, I don't want to ask the other subs like the dating advice sub, since I don't believe in this red pill bull crap of wanting to look mysterious and interesting, as it is just not authentic to who I am. Remember that. Although part of me does wonder if I should sometimes give it a day rest sometimes, since absence can make the heart grow fonder. What is the best thing to do? So before I go through everybody else's stuff, I will tell you what I wrote him verbatim, right? So what I said to him is this. I said, first I quoted where he said, I don't want to ask other subs like the dating advice one, since I don't believe in this red pill bull crap of wanting to look mysterious and interesting, as it is just not authentic to who I am. So I said, let's get this out of the way. The only reason it's not authentic to who you are is because you haven't practiced it enough for it to feel natural. I felt the same way when I started dating and would contact women I liked every day, and it usually didn't work out. As I started practicing not being so available, guess what happened? More women would reach out to me first, and I'd get a lot farther. I get that so-called red pill advice seems counterproductive or that's manipulation. Reality check, good advice is just good advice, especially if there's evidence to back it up. So I'll pause there, right? So this is where I think a lot of guys get frustrated, is because they'll say things like this, like, well, I've heard to try to do this thing, but that's not authentic to me. Everything authentic about you is something that you learned, you practiced, and you did it until it felt like a comfortable part of how you operated, right? So, for example, guys have a hard time breaking away from texting every day. Why? Because they heard early on that texting's a thing to do. You get women interested by communicating with them all the time. And so if you text all the time, you're communicating all the time, and they're going to like you. So then a guy starts the bad habit of texting all the time, and now it becomes their comfort blanket, in spite of the fact that most guys know that, or they've had the experience of, they text all the time, and it starts out hot and heavy, and then a woman starts giving 1 or 2 word answers, and then she starts delaying her response, and then she goes ghost. Too many men had that experience. But yet, because we've habitually started texting all the time, we don't even believe that, like, that's not authentic to who we are. We just believe, we just that's part of our comfort zone because we've done it for so long, and we don't even question if, just because it feels authentic, if that's actually an effective strategy. And that's true for a lot of bad advice that we oftentimes learn from women about dating. We hear it from the source thinking it's going to be good advice. And then if most guys, if they're real, they start looking at the whole like dating thing around 14 or 15, at which point they start looking up advice, or they start asking advice from women, right? And so early on, as men, we're logical. If I get advice from women because they're women, they'll know what they're talking about, I should follow that advice. So they hear that at 15, right? And they will do that advice for 6, 7, 8 years. So now you have a guy that's 21, 22, and he's frustrated with the dating game. He's darn near burnt out, and he's not making any progress because, in spite of what he knows for sure should work, and he keeps on doing, it's never worked. And now he's just thinking, it's not that the stuff that I'm doing doesn't work, it's that women are crazy. And then they hear the so-called manosphere and red pill guy saying, hey, like, women need to like miss you and not have you around all the time. And it's perfectly fine to like not text them. And what's our initial reaction to that? Well, if our habit up to this point is we text all the time and it makes us feel good, then hearing somebody say, don't text all the time does what? It makes us feel bad. It makes us feel like doing that is playing games. It makes us feel like only women that are damaged would even fall for that kind of thing. As a 43-year-old guy, I can assure you, I've been able to date enough women where I did not have to text most of them on a consistent basis for them to build attraction to me. But that's my experience at 43. This guy sounds like a young dude, so he doesn't have that. All he has to go on is he texts all the time usually, and this girl's texting him. They're back and forth texting nonstop. And so now it's like, okay, it ended, but he's getting anxious. He's anxious, like, if I don't text, I gotta keep texting her. And that's where most guys find themselves. And then they can't figure out why these girls keep losing interest, you know? And I get with his situation, it's even harder because he just started dating her and now there's a break. Like typically, ideally, you're in the same space where you're dating each other once a week, but he went out with her, I think he said twice. He started seeing her a week ago. He'd been on a couple of dates. So first of all, they already went on a couple of dates in the span of a week. This guy does not even know he's already setting himself up for failure. How's he doing that? He did 2 dates in 1 week, and he's also texting her every day. So what he's doing unintentionally is he's already showing her that he's taking her super serious to where he already feels as though he's in a relationship with her. You guys that watch the show know how much time does it take for a woman to feel those same feelings back? It takes on average what? 2 to 3 months. So while he's already thinking, I got to text her nonstop because I already feel like I'm in a relationship with this girl, and if I don't, I'm going to be punished. She's not feeling that. And what she needs to be feeling is his absence. She needs to be feeling what it's like when he's not reaching out all the time, when she's not able to see him all the time. And that's the part that men oftentimes don't get, is that you being away actually helps you build up more attraction in her head, right? So all that to say, because red pill and manosphere guy say that, he's thinking, I don't want to be like, he's saying basically, I don't want to be like those jerks in the manosphere and the red pill space because they just all abuse guys and, Andrew Tates and the Kevin Samuels of the world, just blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's a subsection. And those are one or two people that talk about this stuff. Sometimes they give great advice about stuff. Sometimes they don't. But the point is, like, that's not the whole of the red pill. The purpose of the red pill, for those of you that saw The Matrix, it's basically saying, hey, you've been believing women are like this. That's blue pill. But you need to know the reality that they actually act like this and are attracted by these things. So here's some knowledge about that, and boom, now you're red pilled. It's not designed to be a negative thing. There are no leaders of the space because even amongst the space itself, people agree and disagree all the time. But it's supposed to be able to give you an idea of like, hey, these are similar situations and things that guys as a whole have gone through. There's information to be shared here, and here's some of the information. So my information, for example, would be, I did the thing where I text a woman nonstop every day, and by the 30th day, she was no longer interested in me. And that's happened enough times where I'm like, oh, this is probably not a pattern I should continue in spite of it feeling good. So I further on said to him, I said, I can only tell you my experience. My experience is this. 1, waiting a few days between contact does increase their like for you faster. That's just what I've experienced based on doing this for years, right? Number 2, giving women time to miss you actually helps you because their attraction is partially based on feelings. If you're gone and she doesn't hear from you, she can feel that she misses you, which then convinces her brain that she must really like you if she's having all these feelings for you while you're gone. Number 3, women I've talked to, friends, family, whatever, who have had a particular man hitting them up all the time, either A, complain about not being left alone, or B, usually don't end up dating those men. I lived with a woman many years ago who would have guys that she'd meet at like a party or an event, and she'd get their number, and the next day, Harry, look at this guy's still texting me, oh my God. And she would not date those guys because it was too much. She's like, and what their actual thought was like, how is he so obsessed with me already? He just met me. He doesn't know me. Women can't comprehend why, because your analysis of a woman is like, she looks good, smells good, talks to me good. I'm already interested. And theirs is like, I met him. He was nice. I need to see more from him before I make a decision, but this is a good start. And so to go from that to like, oh my God, this guy's overwhelming me because he's already treating this like a relationship and I just barely know his name, that's where you're losing out. Number 4, I said, a few years back, this is true, I actually retested all this. I reconnected with a woman I had dated like years ago, and then I moved out to California, and we never got to really try anything out, right? We reconnected, and at that point, I've been doing this for years, right? And I've had enough people be like, but you got to text all the time. And I said, you know what? She's in another state. I got nothing to lose. I'll try it out. So for 30 days, we were texting back and forth nonstop, and things were rolling. Things were going good. At one point, I went back out to visit her, and she came out here and visited me a little bit. And sure enough, by day 28, answers coming back slower, one-word answers. Keep in mind, most of the time she was the one that was initiating most of the conversations. And even with her being the one to mostly initiate, eventually it started to wane. And to be fair, part of that's because we were long distance and neither of us wanted to move to where the other person was. Totally understandable. But suffice to say, like, there was a point where I was going to come back to visit because where she was living was close to where my family was. So I was like, I'm going to go back out there. So I'm going to keep contacting her, and fizzled out. When I went back out there, couldn't get her to pick up the phone. So suffice to say, I've had enough experiences to know that texting on a daily basis usually results in the woman getting tired or thinking that this guy's too much. He's already trying to talk about future plans and all this other stuff. It's more likely you're going to make a texting faux pas that causes her to be pissed off, and she's going to lose interest. So I said, based on that, we talked every day for 30 days straight, and then she lost interest before ghosting me. And I said, conversely, 5, I've also been able to hook up with women that I've just met faster, in part because I wasn't so readily available. So they made sure that when they saw me, they wanted to make our time extra special. And then I said, do with that what you will. So that's why I strongly believe that overly texting and thinking you got to contact somebody every day is not a good strategy. Even, especially with this guy, he said he's gone out of the country for a couple of weeks, right? And he's thinking, I'm out of the country, she's going to lose interest. You guys know, as I've said on the show before, women have memories like elephants. And because their thoughts about you are based on feelings, as long as when you get back, you're able to give her that same feeling, she's not going to forget you. You could be gone for 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, a year, whatever. When you get back, assuming you give her that same feeling, she's not going to forget what that feels like. She's going to remember that she liked it, and you'll be fine. So to this guy, I would say, if she happened to reach out every day, and then as a result of that, he wanted to continue a convo, Okay, if you want to go that route, you can. But to think that when a convo ends, you have to now initiate a convo every single day. You got to do a good morning text every single day, nonstop. Why you should be focusing on where you're at. He's in a whole nother country. So he should be focusing on where he's at, the people around him. And if he happens to want to reach out to her sporadically here and there, fine. But like every single day, like that's an issue. Now, I put that in there. And there are plenty of other people in here that had their own thoughts about that, especially women. So there was one woman that had responded independent of me. And she said, message her. Guys overthink this all the time. I like how women will be like, you guys overthink so much stuff. And it's like, yeah, because when we go in to try to date you all without a plan and without thinking, it usually doesn't work in our favor. So we have to kind of know more about you and know what our moves are going to be to make sure we're not scaring you off or doing things that are going to cause you to lose attraction. But I digress. She says, guys overthink this all the time. There's nothing worse than feeling like you had a good connection and then he disappears for a day or two before messaging again. Those no contact days are spent with her wondering if he really cares or is just playing games, right? Now, I think I responded to this lady. I did. And so what I said, I said, this woman's response right here, what she said, is exactly why you should not be reaching out so frequently. Because notice what she said, right? She said, those no contact days are spent with her wondering if he really cares or is just playing games. What she did not say is, well, when he doesn't contact me, I start to lose interest because he's not being consistent with his texting me. And then I just, boop, all feelings are gone, because that's not the reality. The reality is if she has feelings for you, just because she wants you to contact her doesn't mean she's going to lose feelings if you don't contact her. And I would argue that the feeling that she's having of wanting to hear from you is as important, if not more so, than actually hearing from you, because she needs to be able to feel that wanting. I want him around. I want to be near him. I want him to contact me. The more she feels a want for you, that is you not pushing your agenda on her for her to want you. It's her feeling in real time. I want this guy because I feel as though he gives me feelings that I need to feel more of. Okay. And so you need to give women space to miss you and not hear from you. I said, notice she didn't say blah, blah, blah. I said, the reality is you don't owe anyone in the beginning all of your time. And women know this better than guys do. And ideally, both people are working towards showing the other person why they should want more of their time. But giving it out so freely in the beginning usually doesn't work out, especially in the man's favor. Ask yourself this. How many of you guys out there have overextended yourself for a woman you just met? You know, you went on a date and she talked about, I need my house painted, or I need to get gas in my car, or, you know, I have this thing coming up and blah, blah. And your response is, oh, I can help you with that. No problem. Oh, I could tell blah, blah, blah. How often do those situations usually result in a relationship? Like, I'm here in Cali, the number of models I know who have had camera guys be like, oh, you want to get into modeling? Oh, well, I got a camera. I'll take some free shots of you. And I know they're doing that as game to try to get her alone or whatever, right? And so what happens? These models take them up on the offer, they get their free pictures, and they never date those guys, right? So this idea of, you know, oh, you just give her what she wants and you reach out whenever she wants it, and if you don't this and that, it's all lies. Like, I've just found that giving women everything that they want when they want it on their time doesn't usually or oftentimes result in you getting what you want, which is a date, a relationship, a hookup, whatever. You know, you have to know what things internally or subconsciously that women either respond to or that they need to feel in order to better build attraction. You being there all the time is not going to make her feel like she likes you. You occasionally being patient by not being around and letting her feel what that feels like is a better way to do that. Now, in reference to him saying, her saying, you know, don't play, it's just playing games. Understand, one, women play relationship games way better than we do. But beyond that, just because you're not giving a woman what she wants at the time that she wants it, it doesn't mean you're playing games. It's you having an understanding of how female attraction works. So let's say she, you know, they had a texting this guy's case, they had a texting conversation. The conversation ended. If he was a guy that knew how female attraction worked, he would know, I need to stop reaching out because I need to, one, see if she'll reach out on her own, but also I need to give her time to miss me. She needs to know what that feels like. Now, let's say the next day he has nothing going on. He could totally reach out to her. Because he's in the habit of texting women all the time, he's going to feel and think, if I don't reach out, I'm playing games. And now I'm associating playing games with being a bad guy. but is he actually playing games, or is he just using the knowledge that he has about female attraction to know I don't have to be there all the time in order to get her interest, so I'm not going to be. That is a perfectly fine way to act and be. You know, he's in another country. He has other things to do. He should realistically have other things to be going on. But if he does not, it's also fine. It was just like, I'm here watching TV today and I just want to do that. And I don't want to be the first one to reach out. And that's totally fine. But so many guys, as they're learning new stuff, think, well, this isn't natural to who I am. And it feels awkward. Therefore, it's game playing. And at the same time, they're failing with women thinking, I'm going to find that one unicorn that's going to not have to quote unquote fall for tactics. It's not even fall for tactics. Most of the stuff I teach you guys is be the heck patient, lay back a little bit. When you're talking with women, know how to be a fun guy. Like if that's game playing, I would say, if you know the rules of the game, then the game that you're playing becomes more fun. And also, women want you to know the rules of the game. Women don't like guys that don't know how to flirt. They don't know how to converse with them. They don't know how to be a leader and just plan a date without their having to put their 2 cents in. Like women actually don't like it when you don't know the rules and when you don't play the game in a way that makes it enjoyable for her and it stresses you the freak out. So I would say, unfortunately, like I said, there's a lot of bad advice out there from women and also from some guys that learn the wrong things, but like a lot of times from women where they'll say a thing that sounds good on paper, and then you as a guy will go out in the world and try it and keep trying it and make it a habit, and it never worked in the first place. Because what I've said on the show before is this, is that when women give you advice, they're giving advice from a hypothetical place based on a guy she has no feelings for. At the point that she meets a guy where she has feelings involved, all the rules that they would give to you or some other guy that they have to follow to build her attraction go right out the window for a guy that's just automatically making her feel it. So don't buy into the lie that, like this guy is doing, that you got to text all the time in order to build a woman's interest. Just saying, you know? That's really all I have for today. Like if there's no questions, then I would say thank you guys for checking out this edition of the live show. Again, I stress, go to medium.com, type in Harry Wilmington, check out my blogs, go to my website, HarryWilmington.com, and get the Texting Like a Boss book absolutely free. And with that, you'll be entered into being on my email list where I send more things. I send a lot of offers of things and stuff coming up and whatnot. So all the stuff, right? Also, like this video, subscribe to the channel, let other people know about it because I'm around. I love giving advice to you guys. I love helping out. That's all I got, guys. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Harry Dating Convos. Don't forget to visit HarryWilmington.com to download my free ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. And while you're there, if you're ready to take things to the next level with your dating life, check out the Get Girls Academy membership program for exclusive strategies and live coaching. Go to HarryWilmington.com to learn more and join today. Lastly, if you've got a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, leave a comment below or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.